Yo, what's up? Ogechi here, aka Oaghaji, back again with another video. It's time for another review. Now, before I begin, just want to let y'all know, as usual, that if y'all hear any talk and background, this is whatnot, and whatnot, that's my family. I apologize, I got tongue-tied for a second. Well, that's what I get for speaking too fast. But anyways, with that out of the way, let's begin. Now, today's review is going to be on the 6th or 7th story arc in the 1983 post-apocalyptic martial arts action manga series, Hokuto no Ken, aka Fist of the North Star, written by Buronson and drawn by Tetsuo Hara, and it's the Village of Miracles arc. Now, this arc picks up right after the Aghaji arc, after Aghaji reveals, that the two older brothers of Hokuto are still alive. And Ray gives out, a bit of a backstory of Hokuto Shinken, specifically, the successor line of that we have right now in the manga with, the first older brother being Rao and Toki, and then Jagi, and then Kenshiro, the youngest. And also the fact that Ryuken had no biological children, he adopted these four. And to train them in this deadly martial art that originated in ancient China. And so Kenshiro tells, Rei, Mamiya, Bat, and Lin about Toki and how, kind of a man he is, He was very kind, compassionate. He's a very skilled in Hokuto Shinken, a very skilled martial artist. But he has aspirations to use Hokuto Shinken as a medical art and not just a martial art, so he can help people. You know what I'm saying, which is cool. But then afterward, and he was originally aligned to be the successor of Hokuto Shinken, the 64th. But unfortunately, tragedy happened. The nuclear war happened. You know what I'm saying, and Toki and Yuria and Kenshiro all fled in a shelter to keep themselves safe from the nuclear waste. And then they saw that the whole shelter was full. And so Toki decided to sacrifice himself so that way Kenshiro and Yuya will be inside. And Kenshiro was distraught for this. But, he wants to open the door, but then he realizes if he does, all the people will, including the children, will be affected. And so he had to bear with this. And then after all that stopped, Toki was alive, but barely. Because due to the toxic nuclear waste, his hair turned gray, and also, he gained, the illness because of that. And so because of this, he decided to relinquish his, role as successor and pursue his life and using his Hokuto Shinken skills to help people before his time to die, which is very aspirational. And so Kenshiro goes on to his journey to find Toki, to see if he's alive, and to see what has happened to him. And he comes to this village of miracles, and there he faces a couple of misfits, or say one misfit in particular, this big dude. He defeats him. And the big dude tells him that he uses the same style as this guy, Toki, who founded the Village of Miracles. And that Toki uses Hokuto Shinken to help out people. And it definitely worked well. But sometime later, Toki flipped, allegedly, and became corrupt and evil. And, he hit some pressure points that gives some people certain lives to live and certain superhuman powers and things like that. And so the guy ended up dying because of this. And so Kenshiro was in disbelief that Toki would go down this path. So throughout this journey, he's trying to find out if Toki's turn to darkness is true. And then later on in the arc, we get to see, him fight against Toki's alleged minions. And we get to see Toki fight against this very skilled boxer, guy who's very skilled in Western boxing. You know what I'm saying? And he puts him down and tests his pressure points, and the guy eventually dies. And then later on in the story arc, Kenshiro, like I said, he faces off against the minions of Toki, you know what I'm saying, and he was able to defeat them, you know what I'm saying. And then later on, he gets to see Toki. He's still in disbelief that Toki would go down this road as being this evil, dictator. And he said that no, you can't be Toki. And so they have this fight. And, he realizes all the movements that he does is similar to Toki's. And then Toki, explains to Kenshiro what happened. That yes, all that when he came to his village, it was in ruins. And he used his Hokuto Shinken to, help out the people and to help people. But unfortunately, some thugs came into the village and, terrorized it. This brought Toki into distraught and unleashed this ultra-violent fury. And it turned him into the man that he is. And this man, who tried to send Toki, his son, to help Toki from his illness and whatnot, he ends up getting killed by Toki. And I'm not sure if the son died or not. It's been a minute since I've read this arc, but, the wife and even Lin, who we'll see in this arc, was in distraught because of this. And the husband died. And Kenshiro was still in disbelief that this is the real Toki until he sees the scar. And realizes, that this is Toki. That Toki got the scar on his back because he's trying to save Kenshiro's life while Kenshiro was very young, training in this waterfall. And the tree fell in, and then it hit Toki in the back. And so with all this revelation, Kenshiro feels like he has to kill Toki too, especially after killing Jagi for all his evil deeds. And Kenshiro, gave Toki the easy work with them hands. And then later on, Toki will use their tactics to get Kenshiro and hit Kenshiro's pressure points. And mocks Kenshiro for his softness and things of that nature. And then, out of nowhere, one of his men, Nabada, is hit. And his face got sliced up. And then Toki realizes this art. This is Nantousui Choken. And lo and behold, is Rei. And Rei tells Kenshiro that this man is not Toki, his older brother. That this man is actually Amiba, a student of Nanto Seiken. And that, Amiba was just, pretend to be Toki and tarnish Toki's name. And then Amiba laughs and reveals that yes, he is Amiba, and it's already too late. Saying that it's already too late, that he's gonna, carry on his cruel ways as Toki, the successor of Hokuto Shinken. And we get to find out that he has the ability to learn any martial art in a quick time, but no one acknowledged him and all that, and he thinks that he's this proclaimed genius. And with all that going on, Kenshiro was able to break free from this pressure point. And so Amiba decides to attack Kenshiro, and Kenshiro mops the floor with him, giving Amiba back his real face. And we get to find out that and after his men find out, the men decide not to take any orders from Amiba anymore, saying that he's not the real Toki. Then we get to find out that the reason why Amiba decided to pretend to be Toki because, Amiba, Toki hid his face, which is very petty as hell, you know what I'm saying? And so he decided to have his little revenge. And he also reveals that it's true that Toki, was distraught after what happened to Village of Miracles, and he got captured, if I remember correctly. And so Kenshiro was furious after he learned that Amiba was just trying to tarnish Toki's name because of all this petty stuff, and it's like, you know what, you ain't gonna live long. And so Amiba hit his pressure points to make himself big and strong, but that backfired and his hands blew off. And so Kenshiro told him straight up that Hokuto Shinken has 1,000-year history. It's not just some martial art that you can just learn quickly. Kenshiro mops the floor with him, unleashing, the technique called Zankai Sekihoken, and it makes Amiba walk, backwards into the, balcony, you know what I'm saying? And since he doesn't have his hands to hit his pressure points, he suffers to his doom while yelling for Keno. And so with that revelation, Amibuz's reign is no more. So that's the that's the basis, of the Village of Miracles arc. Sorry, I couldn't find the right word, so it's been a long night. Anyway, the Village of Miracles arc is actually a pretty good story arc. You know what I'm saying? It's a pretty good step up for the previous arc. The writing is definitely getting better. The art keeps getting better as well. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely recommend it. This definitely gets a 5 out of 5 for sure. Hopefully y'all enjoy this review despite some hiccups here and there. Let me know what y'all think about the Village of Miracles arc in the Fist of the North Star manga in the comments below. If y'all read it already. If y'all like this video, y'all can hit that button and share it. Y'all can subscribe to the channel if y'all enjoy this type of content. Y'all can also follow me on my other social media accounts. You know what I'm saying? Y'all can hit the notification bell on the channel to keep y'all notified on the uploads, and stay tuned for more other reviews and more other videos along the way. So with all that said, this is your boy Ogechi Aghaji, aka Oaghaji, aka the Perfect Sensei, signing out. Peace.